There are really only two ways that we can approach life. We can live life mentally working the angles to get our way, or we can live life physically working the angles God's way on bended knee. I think about the many times in the Psalms that David is praying. One of the times that he says he's being attacked by people, and this is his response. He says, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're harming me, they're lying, they're slandering. And then it says this, but I am a man of prayer. I am a man of prayer. I want to just close with this one last thought. This working the angles God's way, the bended knee, isn't very popular anymore in evangelical Christianity. I think we at times maybe feel we're too sophisticated to get on our knees before God. And we don't want to embarrass ourselves or make a public show of that kind of yieldedness to God. But I'll never forget living in New York many years ago and reading in the paper of a pastor who was describing his prayer life, and it was in the religion section, and he went on to talk about prayer and everything, and about halfway through the article, the reporter from the newspaper said, what about, physical position? Do you ever pray on your knees? And he said, oh, no, I never pray on my knees. That prostration stuff and the kneeling stuff, that was Old Testament. I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ now, and I can look at God face to face, man to man, man to God, and I am his peer. And I was just like, that very day, I decided I would be a man who would pray on my knees because of that article. Because I thought, I learned something very important there. That though that man was really, in many senses, speaking blasphemous about God in that kind of a way, I thought to myself, I learned a great lesson. Though I don't think that way, nonetheless, I wasn't a man that ever got on my knees for prayer. Rarely, anyway. And from that time on, I decided that I would be a man who, as a practice, would pray on my knees. Now, it's not that I religiously do that, and every time I pray, I'm on my knees. But I find when I bend the knee, when I work that angle in life, my heart is in a totally different place than when I'm sitting, or my legs are crossed, or I'm even standing. When I kneel and take that physical position of kneeling, something in my heart takes its proper place before a holy and sovereign God. But there's something that's happened in our culture, in the church, where we don't kneel much anymore. I think we need to leave all those fears behind. And I want to encourage you to begin working the angles God's way and see if God won't bless you. See if you won't find that God answers. In all of these situations, if this family had simply prayed, God would have blessed them. Not only would God's purposes have prevailed, but they would have experienced the joy and the wonder of walking with God, and they would have been walking in the unity and the bond of peace that God alone can bring. But as it is, God's purpose prevailed, but they suffered because they worked the angles. Not God's way, but the world's way. My prayer is that you and I and our church and the fellowship of the saints would begin to be men and women who work the angles God's way on bended knee before a holy and sovereign and loving and faithful and merciful and gracious God.